welcome back to the third and final segment of today's episode of Live at the Legislature. I'm Kealoha Lindsay with the House Minority, and joining us again is Representative Bob McDermott. He represents Ewa Beach in House District 40 and serves as a member of the Committee on Finance. Rep. McDermott, how are you this morning?
Hey, Kyle, I'm doing great. It's good to join you, as always.
It's good to have you back. Can you believe it's March already?
Time is flying by. No, I can't, actually.
So I'll start off. We got a little bit of sad news yesterday, hearing that after almost 170 years, Love's Bakery is shutting down its doors. It's closing its 6 locations across the 4 counties. Just what was your reaction to that? I think they're going to be laying off 231 employees.
Yeah, that's really sad. I don't know the extent of their debt or the extent of their financial troubles, but it would seem to me that we as a state and the governor could fix this, somehow provide them some sort of relief, working with their attorneys, and maybe go to bankruptcy court in order to keep them afloat, because you're talking about the jobs of 240 people, and they are going to be out of work, livelihoods, and you think about them, they permeate our life. Every store has Love's bread in it, and this is just really troubling and sad. And Kyle, we have to think about all the people that depend on them. So they bring their flour mill in from the mainland. So you have ocean transport affected. They take it to a place called HFM, Hawaii Flour Mill, right? And they would prepare it, and then they would take it to Love's, and Love's would make bread out of the flour. And so you have all the truck drivers who transport that raw product into what becomes a finished product. And it goes on and on for the packing materials and everything else, all these ancillary jobs, not just the jobs that are directly at Love's, but the jobs that support them and delivery drivers and on and on. So it's really sad. If I was the governor, I would do everything I could to keep them afloat. They're the only bread maker we have of note, if you will, certainly the largest. And we've seen with the pandemic, Kyle, the fragility of our food supply chain. So food security, I was never a big believer in that kind of buzzword, but it's real. Because when you go to Sam's and you can only buy 1 tray of chicken, we got a problem. When you're limited on things, we got a problem. And I see that directly because I have such a large family.
Yeah, absolutely. That was leading into my next question. Is there have been a few bills about food security. The last segment mentioned sort of like local agricultural production on Hawaii Island. So what are some of the developments, or what are some of the bills that you've heard on the House floor and have supported?
That's a good question. So speaking broadly, there are bills that require state agencies to purchase local produce, purchase local products if they can. I think that's a great idea. I'd rather keep the money here in town and pay a little bit more than buy something from Iowa and the money goes out the door to Iowa, right? So that's good. We're encouraging the Department of Education to buy more local products, lettuce, carrots, anything that's grown locally, buy it here first, because that keeps a base of business, particularly from the Department of Education, for the local farmers. What we don't have is, we have 1 ranch, I think, on the Big Island, but we need ranches, we need piggeries, we need chicken farms. Those are all things we need to produce our own beef and pork and things of that nature here. We don't have that. I don't even know if we have any dairies anymore. I think we don't have any dairies. At one time, we had a multitude of dairies that produced our own milk. Now we don't. I understand it's cheaper to bring it in from the mainland in the short term, but in the long term, you're losing that land to development. And so we can use it for agriculture, and you might pay a few dollars more. And I say dollars, probably cents more on the dollar. But it's worth it in the long run, because you keep local people employed and you keep Hawaii green to an extent.
Right. And another issue that you've spoken about is the Agribusiness Development Corporation. And sort of, what's your opinion on, I guess, their role so far? And I guess, are they fulfilling the vision that, it was supposed to?
So the answer is no. In the last, I think, 10 years, they've spent over $70 million in purchasing agricultural land at top dollar from Dole, right? So they bought it and they're land banking it. That's not their mission, but that's what they've been doing. And they bought an old warehouse, I want to say Tamora's warehouse up in Wahiwa for several $1 million. And they're just incompetent. And the auditor's report was so sad it was comical. They asked the director, "Where's your strategic plan?" And he said, "I don't have it written down. I have it all up here." That's not the answer you give, especially when you're paid $180,000 a year.
Right. Yeah.
So they don't know what they're doing. That organization is rife with politics. Rife. I mean, the dirty secret is we all know who runs it down here. I mean, it's I'm not going to say, but everybody knows who's in charge of the ADC, and it's not James Nakatani. So they've got they're a resource, and if they had the right guy there and the right team, they could implement a governor's vision on how to do things. And if that's increased food production by 20%, local food production, okay, we can do that. That's an attainable goal. How are you going to do it? Get the farmers on the land for free. Give them the water for free. Do whatever you have to do, provided they hit certain benchmarks of achievement, and get them on the land so they can make some money and grow local products. So if there's a disaster that occurs or another pandemic, we don't have a shortage of these foodstuffs.
Absolutely.
Damn, I'm so articulate sometimes. It just
you can't control it. You just have good days, you know.
I know you're probably in awe watching me.
I'm so impressed. So we got about a minute left. I wanted to sneak in a question from one of your colleagues who asked to remain anonymous. We're in the Lenten season, and you're a devout Catholic. And for those at home who don't know, is you give up meat on Fridays, right? Or that's sort of the tradition.
Yes.
And this question is, what is your beef with butterfish?
Oh, butterfish.
Why won't you eat it? Why?
It's not a very meaty fish for me. It's a little too oily. I'd rather have a nice piece of ahi, or my favorite is wahoo, which is like the Samoan tuna, right? If you've ever had wahoo in a can, it's awesome. But the fresh wahoo they make at Nico's is also very good. Excellent.
Good to know. Good. And with that, we are out of time. Brett McDermott, stellar performance.
Thank you.
Thanks again to our friends at Olelo, and thanks for the viewers for sticking around with us. We will see you next week here on Live at the Legislature.
Thanks, Kyle. Thank you, Olelo guys.
What are you doing? We have to go. I'm gonna be late for work.
It's Tuesday morning. I gotta record Live at the Legislature on Olelo. Senate and House leadership discussing what's happening at the state capitol.
So just watch it on the news tonight. Come on, let's go.
Hey, this is like getting the news before it's news. If only I could get this remote to work.
There. Can we go now?
No DVR? No problem. Watch Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. on Channel 49.